Angela Lansbury discloses that she married a gay man, leaving Hollywood to save her. Children of Angela Lansbury and the Manson family. Angela Bridge Lansbury was born on October 16, 1925, London, England. Lansbury grew up in a household with solid political and philosophical foundations. Moa McGill, her mother, was a prosperous Edgar Lansbury, her father, and the actress was a well-known politician and wood merchant. After her father's premature passing when she was only 9 years old, Angela took comfort in the realm of the love of theater and movies would go on to influence her future as a World War Lansbury and her as World War II enveloped Europe. American family moved to the U.S. in 1940 in order to avoid the atrocities of the Blitz. After moving to New York, she pursued acting studies at the dramatic Fagan School and afterwards relocated to L.A., where her film career started when she was just 17 years old. Lansbury was chosen to play the cunning Nancy in the 1944 motion picture Gaslight, obtaining a nomination for Best Academy Award Supporting Actress. In this role right away positioned her as a powerful talent in Hollywood and signaled the start of a successful cinematic career. The Lansbury made an appearance in a range of assignments that demonstrated her amazing range in spite of frequently being labeled portrayed in parts considerably older than her real age. She had strong performances with motion pictures like The Picture of Dorian in 1945. Gray received a second The Manurian and an Oscar nomination. Perspective 1962. In which her terrifying depiction of a she received a third from her cunning mother nomination. These early performances demonstrated her extraordinary capacity to blend seamlessly with characters that provide subtlety and complexity. Even auxiliary roles in Angela Lansbury's The Silver was not the only talent. She became a legend on the film Broadway with her winning Tony Award appearances in musicals like Mame Gypsy in 1966, Sweeney Todd in 1974, and Spirit of Blythe 2009, her vocal performance, and she was one of the most dynamic, cherished and esteemed musical theater performers on every stage throughout history. Performance showed how dedicated she was to create her flawless comedic timing and her capacity to express profound emotion through conversation and song. Possibly her most enduring contribution to Jessica Fletcher was a popular culture figure, the mystery writer who solves murders in The Murder, a long-running television series she penned 1984 to 1996 throughout a 12-season span, and after 264 episodes, Lansbury enthralled audiences worldwide with her humor intelligence as well as gradually, the program became a Sunday mainstay. Evening television and her depiction of Fletcher's astute independence and being sympathetic was a welcome and empowering character for everyone who watches. As Lansbury won 12 straight Emmys nominations for the position are evidence of, however, her popularity and consistency. Many admirers are aware that she never received the prize. Its detractors continue to bemoan not only her stage and television work. Lansbury provided vocals for animated movies that charmed younger audiences. Fans, particularly since she spoke the type Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast by Disney. The Beast 1991, singing the title song with elegant, kind, and warm performance brought life and heart to the animated classic and solidified her reputation. She also made appearances with younger audiences in further family-friendly initiatives such as Nanny MCI, 2005, and Anastasia, 1997. Demonstrating her adaptability and longevity. Of Angela Lansbury's arts-related contributions did not go unbeknownst to her. She received many distinguished accolades and distinctions during the course of her life, including 6 an honorary Academy Award at the Tony Awards, a career, and 5 Golden Globes. In 2013, the Screen Actors Achievement Award. She was named a Dame in 2014. Commander of the British Order Queen Elizabeth II Empire for her services to humanitarian work, drama, and this honors philanthropy. Did not only her remarkable accomplishments as an entertainer, as well as her reputation as a cherished cultural representative of both the America and the United Kingdom. On September 27, 1945, an impressionable Angela at the time Lansbury was just 19 years old. Eloped with a man named Richard Cromwell, an actor. 16 years. Her senior's choice to marriage was a private affair that ended in a little civil ceremony away from the spotlight and examination of Angela in Hollywood. Was deeply in love, youthful, optimistic in spite of the age difference and because show industry moves quickly, she sincerely felt their connection, but regrettably the union was only lasted until 1946. A year later, they divorced. Yet their loving relationship's demise did not signify the termination of their relationship. Amazingly, Richard and Angela stayed amicably for the remainder of his life till his liver-related death in 1960. Despite cancer, their friendship persisted. The sudden and emotionally distressing method. The fact that their marriage had dissolved was evidence of the emotional development of Lansbury and ability to forgive. Let's now explore into Lansbury's actual events. Later disclosed that she was abandoned by Cromwell. Abruptly, without any prior notice for his purposes, he left her a devastating message that just read: no dialogue, sorry I can't go on. Just a remark and a blank, no conflict. She was emotionally and visibly stunned. Devastated by the suddenness of the separation sparked inquiries at Cromwell's single public appearance statement of their failing marriage. He quoted by the media, "All about the house in the middle of the night, she would tease, get up and begin drinking tea, it's almost time. Drove me insane." Final quotation. Many people found the phrase to be odd, and a love of tea could be elusive. Might be the cause of giving up a marriage without notice is understandable. Many others, including Angela, didn't purchase that justification. Appeared to be a diversion. A front for something more profound. In Lansbury interviews conducted later in life that acknowledged when she ultimately discovered the reality about Cromwell's sexual orientation. After a long emotional reflection and after doing some research, she came to the conclusion Richard Cromwell's sexual orientation, and that this, as opposed to her tears, was he probably left the marriage for this reason. He had lived during a period when being openly homosexual in Hollywood was both socially and professionally. Several gay performers entered, which was perilous. Marriages between heterosexuals to safeguard their public perception, frequently during high emotional expense to their spouses and themselves. Angela was open about this. Disclosure made in an interview with on NPR's Fresh Air, Terry Gross regarding the statement, "I had known so many gay Hollywood individuals, simply had never truly hit home that I was in love with one, and I simply thought it was shocking, but it wasn't a surprise since I was deeply enamored with when I married Richard Cromwell, that as you may know, I had never had any sort of encounter where I was unable to sketch to discover that I lacked experience. She was vulnerable in terms of her sexual." End quote. And as truthful as a sheltered, she just didn't comprehend this young woman. The intricacies of sexual identity or sentimental compatibility is crucial. Lansbury claimed she never placed the blame on Richard Cromwell for the events that took place there. It's possible that the marriage ended in uncertainty and heartache, yet she had no malice. She subsequently spoke to him, saying, "When it discovered he was gay, I never blamed him in any kind, and I came to the realization that I had simply used agonizing mistake. You are aware of an emotional mistake, but I don't feel bad about it because I learned a great deal in the brief time." Hope our time together is reflected in her writings. Knowledge, empathy, and the capacity to develop from suffering without holding. Lansbury also described how resentment. Moa McGill, her mother, is an actress who had been through the highs and lows of Hollywood, regularly hosted extravagant. These events are industry parties. Comprised a large number of gay community, many of whom led solitary lives. Because of the era's stigma. Angela remembered her mother's profound, honored their privacy by not disclosing someone without their consent. This cultivated an inclusive atmosphere at home, way Angela described it, and discretion. Mother was deeply ingrained in the traditional she taught about the LGBT scene in Hollywood. Angela should respect the identities of others. With long-term secrets, Angela Lansbury. herself gained notoriety as a gay icon. For her roles as well as for her allyship and acceptance in a time when in Hollywood, this kind of support was uncommon. Further conveyed her ongoing astonishment at how many actors were there in her era, secretly gay, and how well they concealed it because of the strict professional repercussions they could experience if found this, which may help to explain how she was so quickly drawn into a romantic relationship with someone who, looking back, was having difficulties possessing individuality in a society that required secrecy. She wasn't by herself. During that time, starlets discovered themselves in comparable circumstances, married men who couldn't be honest about their sexual orientation. Angela was one of these women. Entered marriages with nothing but hope to discover oneself confused and sad, but in contrast to many, Angela made the decision to kindness over resentment, and while her romantic life's first chapter came to an end, it wasn't the end of her in heartbreak. Angela's love story was ultimately realized. An enduring love after meeting the actor and Peter Shaw, a producer. They were wed in 1949, and their partnership turned out to be a foundation of stability and strength for 54 years till Peter's passing in 2003. Angela frequently discussed the profound they shared it with love and cooperation. Was raised by her with Peter family and established a loving home. And comprehension through his former union with Angela became his son David's stepmother. Angela and Peter, along with Shaw, had Anthony Peter and their own 2 children, Deirdre Angela and Shaw. Angela was the first to acknowledge that keeping her balance managing a career and parenthood was not simple. She put in a lot of work and frequently had to abandon her kids in California. As she accepted acting roles elsewhere, nevertheless, she had a strong commitment to she taught her kids about her family. A strong moral and religious foundation. Despite not having been reared once in a religious home, she said, "We must have faith and confidence in because I think God is present in every one of us, that we are valuable, flawless beings." These principles represented her individual philosophy based on charity and faith and fortitude. However, life would put Angela's fortitude to the test, as in the 1960s, a mother who lived in Los Angeles, both of her adolescent kids started to struggle with substance abuse, which Lansbury bravely discussed, and openness, particularly concerning her Deirdre, the daughter, fell in love with the notorious and dangerous cult headed by Angela. Charles Manson acknowledged, "It hurts. I would say that, but at one point, Deirdre was among a group of people led by Charles Manson. Deirdre is similar to many teenagers in that tumultuous period was captivated by the charismatic and perverse impact of Angela. Manson is afraid for her. The prospects of children made a clear and life-saving action alongside Peter Shaw. She moved the whole household to Ireland's County Cork, is a peaceful rural area. Away from Los Angeles's mayhem and perils there, Angela purchased a house and turned down acting roles for more than a year, so she was able to stabilize and be totally present. The move worked out for her family, and she later pondered, "I'm sure we would have lost one of our 2 kids, or both, if they hadn't been entirely eliminated." Somewhere else Ireland offered simplicity and tranquility. And eventually curing, her kids recovered and continued to live a healthy life. Angela Lansbury led a wealthy life. With intricate romantic heartbreak, enduring love, familial conflicts, and successes. Despite all, she stayed a graceful, strong, and resilient figure, very open about her history, and genuinely she was kind when she talked about other people, even those who had harmed her along the way. Demonstrates that errors are forgiven. The finest love can be found again. Our roles are frequently off-stage. But in the silent tenacity of daily existence in her younger years, Angela Lansbury battled an addiction. Behavior was typical of many people in her era's entertainment industry, chain smoking. Like a lot of mature actors, Lansbury started in the middle of the 19th century. Smoking when young, possibly as a common outcome of the cultural glitz connected to cigarettes in movies and smoking in theater circles was not just both promoted and socially acceptable in certain work settings for Lansbury, whose profession was taking off in Hollywood, and cigarettes on stage might have functioned as a personal comfort and a stress reduction tool and the lengthy hours that accompanied her hard work schedule, but by the Lansbury initiated the conscious her choice to stop. Smoking probably represented a greater understanding of the dangers of tobacco use to one's health usage, in addition to a wish to protect her voice power and general health, especially as she developed into more varied and physically taxing positions. She was able to stop smoking after years of reliance resonates to her in a unique way. Self-control and steadfast dedication to her well-being and lifespan. In addition to her attempts to keep up excellent, Lansbury's health was also conscious of the aging-related bodily changes, particularly as someone who is continuously in 1976, when she was 51 years old, she decided to have her undergo cosmetic surgery. NECA technique meant to tighten the skin and stop the enlargement or sagging that frequently happens as people age. Vanity was not the only factor in the decision, but instead due to a need for a job in a field where appearance frequently plays a crucial part in figuring out the types of jobs that an actor can land. The process was seen as comparatively small but useful, and it was beneficial. Lansbury keeps up a lively and youthful appearance. Appearance at a pivotal moment in her career in 1987, more than 10 years later. She had a second neck operation. Tackling age-related issues once more, alterations using the same practical strategy. She put her job and health first. These rulings were representative of because of Lansbury's initiative. She was not preoccupied with her appearance or unwilling to care about them, but instead took steady, deliberate stages toward aging attractively while remaining competitive in an industry that emphasizes visuals. When Lansbury reached her 70s, the physical performance costs associated with a long life, particularly on stage, where parts frequently required standing and dancing, started to appear for prolonged periods of time. Notably, in the 1990s, she began suffering from the consequences of arthritis, common but debilitating illness that causes joint discomfort and stiffness. Even if she didn't talk about her very often. Battles arthritis in public, Lansbury kept performing frequently. Getting used to her physical limits with subdued dignity, and her tenacity and resilience were especially clear in her ongoing stage work throughout this time, proving that even if her body encountered obstacles to her talent and spirit stayed crisp into May. In 1994, Lansbury went one step farther to enhance her quality of life and mobility by having hip replacement surgery. This process is frequently carried out on elderly people who are afflicted with significant joint degeneration or arthritis, entails changing the injured hip joint. Using a Lansbury prosthetic implant after the procedure, she was able to regain a degree of adaptability and self-reliance, allowing her to keep working and engaging in public life in spite of the gravity of the process. She made a robust recuperation and quickly went back to a tribute to her on stage and screen tenacity and dedication to her craft in 2005, more than 10 years later. Lansbury experienced yet another significant knee orthopedic surgery, this time replacement similar to her last hip surgery. This process was essential in resolving the damage brought on by decades of activity that involves staging and dancing. Mobility and knee recovery. Replacing surgery can be time-consuming and challenging, especially for someone in their late 70s. But once more, Lansbury refused to anticipations arising from the encounter with a trait, perseverance and elegance, Angela. The end of Lansbury's life was serene. Los Angeles, October 11, 2022. She was 96 years old and from California. Death signaled the conclusion of an incredible life and profession that has covered almost 8 decades and made people feel. Lansbury's millions over generations longevity in both one's personal and professional life was partly attributable to her self-control. Vision and unwavering power of character despite physical obstacles, illnesses, and the inescapable difficulties. Despite becoming older, she kept her dignity. Love of telling stories and her